Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Britton's Hangout Hour, episode 32, I think. Again, I've lost track of the count. I'm here today with the Vile Eye from the YouTube channel, the Vile Eye. He's covered a lot of villains on his channel, like Gus Fring, Judge Holden. Who else? Goth from Schindler's List. A lot of people. So how you doing today?
Not bad. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, if you'd like to introduce yourself, or do you think I already just?
I think you did an all right job. I am who I am. That's me, the Violin on YouTube.
You also did one about a tire. That was very entertaining.
Oh yeah, that was probably my magnum opus.
So yes. But yeah, you're the Vile Eye. You're on YouTube. You cover a lot of villains on your channel. So
I sure do.
I guess the first natural question I should ask is like, what attracts you to villains? Like, what makes them interesting to you? Like, why did you start the Vile Eye?
So, for some reason, I've been attracted to villains ever since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I always liked the bad guy in the movies. I always liked the darker. Even for some reason, my favorite Pokemon when I was a kid um, was Weezing. Every other kid had Charizard, but I picked the purple, ugly-looking thing with a skull and crossbones on it. Um, just happened that way for some reason. I'm like that. So it started when I was young, but as I grew older, not only do I just enjoy the overall personalities of villains most of the time, but to me, evil is interesting to study because it's a look into how far humans can go, um, in like a negative way. What are the limits of human depravity, so to speak? And I mean, there are limits. I don't think there's limits to kindness or depravity,
Mm-hmm.
but it's usually a lot more apparent how to the extent of good, but
Mm-hmm.
evil can shock you all the time, and it's interesting to research. So probably a big part of it. But I did get started with villains from movies and TV shows and everything like I do on my channel, and that just led me to evil from there.
so um, so what are some what do you think makes a good villain in your opinion? I'm sure you've probably
Um,
been asked this a lot. So.
yeah, it's kind of hard because a lot of different things make a villain good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but probably delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, if a villain's motivation is he's a bubblegum thief, he goes around and he smashes all the bubblegum machines in the town and he steals the gum. Now that's not very interesting, but perhaps his character is quite interesting. How does he talk? How does he look? What does he say? How does he move? Um, so while motivation is a part of it, I think it's definitely how a villain is their delivery. One of my favorite examples would be my favorite villain, which is Emperor Palpatine. Um,
Yeah.
there are lots of Dark Lords,
Mm-hmm.
some are successful, some aren't. Um, but I think he's largely successful because of how he is, this wrinkled old man with demon eyes who's just overwhelmingly evil, and it's just that persona is so
Tackles like a
intense.
maniac.
Yeah. And it's the delivery. It's not so much that he's the emperor of the galaxy. If he was a just a bounty hunter or something, he would still be amazing because of his personality.
Yeah.
His machinations play a big part in it, but definitely persona I think is important for a villain to be successful.
So I remember you've said you really like Emperor Palpatine. So you've seen like Star Wars: The Clone Wars and all that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I used to in high school I discovered expanded universe books,
Mm-hmm.
and as soon as I saw one in the library at my school, I was like, Star Wars books. What is that, like a movie novelization? And I picked it up, and I'm pretty sure the first one I read was the Empire of the Hand trilogy by Timothy Zahn.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this isn't just a novelization. It's actually a book. And I read it, and I from there on, I think that I did that in junior year, like in the beginning. Every week I read two expanded universe books. I'd go to the library, check out two, and go back next week and check out more. So yeah, big into Star Wars. Not I haven't kept up on it as much as I used to, but I do love Star Wars.
Yeah, I love Star Wars too. Yeah, I know Palpatine's great. It's great stuff.
Oh yeah, one of the best.
Yeah, no, I mean it's kind of hard to get more megalomaniacal than Palpatine. I would say.
Yeah, and I've made the argument before that he's the most evil villain in cinema
Mm.
just because of how unrepentantly evil he is, but also because of the scale of his crimes. I mean, if you factor in that he started the Clone Wars and was the leader of both sides, which is already, crazy.
Mm.
Um, and the Star Wars galaxy is filled with what, trillions of life forms?
Mm.
He killed billions of life forms died in the Clone Wars to secure him his throne, And
Mm.
he did that on a galactic scale. Not many villains do things on a galactic scale, so that's even more impressive and diabolical.
Yeah, I know you've covered other Star Wars villains. You've covered Dooku, Vader. Didn't you cover Maul as well?
Yeah, I pretty much did the four main Sith Lords from the movies, is what I
Mm.
wanted to do. I did that for um, May 2 years ago.
Um, yeah, you've covered a lot of villains on your channel. Like I saw you covered Barry from Barry Bergman,
Yeah,
which
that was a
I
fun one. That was a good show. That show was hilarious, actually.
yeah, no, I was like I remember recommending like I remember distinctly I was on your one of your Discord channels and I was like it'd be funny if you covered Barry or Monroe or Fuchs from Barry, and I didn't. Like a couple weeks later, I saw you covered Barry. Thought that was funny.
Yeah, no, that was a. I'm glad people recommended it because I don't know if I ever would have watched the show if people hadn't recommended it, and glad I did. It was hilarious. Especially I don't know if you're have you seen the whole thing?
Yeah, I've seen the whole thing.
That Rain Man scene
Oh
in
god.
when Fuchs is in prison,
Yeah.
I lost it. That was comedy gold right there. Oh, it was so good.
Oh man, it's man, it's so good. I one of my favorite scenes from Barry is beginning of season 3 when he's with those two guys and he's like, "Oh, I'm forgiving Jeff." He's like, "You're forgiving Jeff?" He's like, he like goes on for a few minutes. He's all like, he's like, he said he was sorry for doing this. Yeah, you know what? I think I just overreacted, and he just shoots them both, and he just like he's just annoyed, walks back, and he just goes, "There's no forgiving Jeff." I'm like,
Right?
this show's amazing.
Yeah. If anyone listening hasn't seen it, go watch Barry because that
Yeah,
that show was great.
yeah, I know. I'm like, oh man, season 4 was. Well, I was actually talking about it with my uncle last night because he had just finished
Uh
Barry,
huh.
and he was like, "Oh man, that was interesting." I'm like, "Yeah, I think they could have stretched some of that out a little bit, but I mostly liked it." He was like, "Yeah." So,
Yeah.
because there was some of it I'm
Last
like, some of it was kind of jarring. Like there was some issues I had with some of the character, like how some of the characters, like Fuchs, for instance.
I that was a I thought that was a pretty funny ending for Fuchs, but no, it's the final seasons of TV shows are always hit or miss. It's so hard to do a last season of a show right,
Mm.
and many series fall short of making a good final season. But I thought Barry's was pretty good overall.
Yeah, no, I liked it. It was good. It did not it did not do what I expected for sure. Because
Right.
I was kind of like, oh, is Barry gonna like redeem himself? Is he just gonna is he just gonna like rot in prison? Because I'm like, I don't know
Yeah,
how
no.
this is gonna go. And then what happened. I'm like, wow, that was not at all what I thought was gonna happen.
Right. Very unexpected.
I hope Bill Hader does well with this horror movie because certainly has the chops. I think.
Oh, that's right. He's making a horror movie, right? Yeah, I forgot about
Or I
that.
read it. I read that somewhere. I'm like, oh yeah, I think he'll do good with that.
Cool.
Yeah, no. I think I might have asked you this before, or maybe you've been asked this, but like, what are some like favorite episodes you've done, like aside from, Palpatine? Because I know you love Palpatine.
Um, so I don't know if you've seen the movie Blue Velvet, but that was it's a very shocking. I don't want to say shocking, but it was definitely wasn't what I was expecting when I
I haven't seen
went
it,
to
but I've
watch
heard
it.
of it. I know the villain in that is very memorable. Dennis Hopper
Yeah, yeah.
is this
Mm-hmm.
crazy, this insane guy who just he huffs like I don't know what that is, but it's like some sort of drug.
Yeah. Um, no, that was a fun one. Frank Booth.
Mm.
Um, what are some other my favorite ones? I mean, my Norman Bates one, I think I did a good job on. That was a long time ago, though. I think I did a pretty good job on Judge Holden. Um,
Yeah, I like how
and
you just went
then
like, you know what? I'm not even gonna do like a normal thing. I'm just gonna read some stuff from the book and then we'll just
I
go.
felt like I had to. There was a lot. It's so Cormac McCarthy's writing was so. I don't know. It's hard if you haven't experienced it.
Yeah, I know.
And
I did a video on I did a video on Blood Meridian a few weeks ago, and we were just like, oh man, it's yeah, it's a
yeah, it's
difficult
rough.
book.
So, and with how cryptic the judge is, I felt like I had to read a lot to get my point across. But no, I think I did good on that. And then, actually, probably one of the only videos, because I don't know if you ever like written something or made a video or anything. You make videos,
Mm.
but like written a script or drawn something. I'm the kind of person that as soon as I'm done writing, I'm like, this sucks. You know, this
I
this
know the
sucks.
feeling.
You
I
know,
know
this is
that
gonna be
feeling.
my worst video. No one's gonna like it, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for it. But usually it turns out fine. Everybody's their own worst critic, you know. But the only video that I can remember not feeling like that with was actually the Everything Everywhere All at Once video I did. I was like, wow, I feel good about this one. I did a good job here.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I'm like, so like, do you think everyone was bad in that movie? Like, cause I
No, it was just it wasn't that everyone was bad.
or not
It's
bad,
just
but like evil, I guess, or I don't know.
no. It was just there's I guess that movie deals a lot with like societal pressures and familial pressures and cultural pressures. And it's not that everyone was bad. It's I was just trying to kind of talk about how those things affect people and how they can create someone who would be a monster in multiple universes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Someone who was raised a certain way and acts a certain way. I mean, they might do bad things because of it. But you can only blame them so far.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't say that everyone in that movie's evil. It's just there's a lot of contributing factors to how Jobu developed that are not good,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, no, one of my yeah, no, Everything Everywhere All at Once was one of my favorite movies last year. That was really good. And I
No, it's a good
saw it
movie.
like right near the end of the year, and I was like, "Dang it! Why didn't I go see this movie? This film was awesome."
I
I
know,
think it
right?
was. I don't know what you thought of the movie, but I thought it was great.
Oh, I thought it was definitely well of what I saw. It was the best movie that came out, in that year. And I would I mean, as time goes on, it'll probably be considered one of the greatest movies ever made. I think.
Yeah, no, I don't see how that probably. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I'll see you've covered The Last of Us. It's one of my favorite games. Um,
Yeah, that was fun.
yeah, no. Um, so like, because that was another one I was interested in. So like, so do you think like Joel was evil, or do you think it was just kind of because I know that with when it comes to like villains or evil, there's always that kind of debate on if it's their nature doing what they did, or if it's like the society or the
So
or nurture, you could say.
I've talked about this a lot recently. There is a difference between someone who is an evil person and someone who has done evil things. Because
Mm-hmm.
you can be not, and you don't have to be an evil person to do evil things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Joel is one of those people. He's done a lot of bad things,
Mm-hmm.
and his killing spree there at the end to save what's her name again? I
Ellie.
forgot her name. Ellie. Save Ellie. Um, it's understandable, but it wasn't a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was, and it's implied that he was a hunter,
Mm-hmm.
and he was killing people with his brother and whoever else they were with.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not like someone who did any of these things because he enjoyed it or because he had some kind of nefarious goal.
Mm-hmm.
He was just trying to survive. With the Ellie thing, he was just trying to protect, his surrogate daughter. Um, so yeah, he's done evil things, but he's not some evil guy who was like out there murdering people because that's what he wanted to do, or he
What?
wanted to rule the world or something.
He wasn't murdering people for the lulz.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I guess that also brings me to another question. Like, what makes like the most interesting type of villains for you? Like, do you like villains that are like complex, or villains who are more straightforward, or people who are like one of those who are kind of incomprehensible, like Judge Holden or the Joker?
It's really hard to say because I like them all. Honestly, like
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy every type of villain. Obviously, I really like, unapologetically evil characters like Palpatine, but I also like ones that are a little less evil, and have some more complexity to them. And yeah, no, I it's hard for me to pick a favorite archetype because I love them all really.
Fair enough. Yeah, I saw your Tony Soprano one. I was like, oh my gosh, it's an hour long.
Oh yeah, that see, there's certain videos that like will just take much longer. I've told someone before that whether it takes 5 minutes or 2 hours to go through a character, that's what it's going to be. I never, my videos are only as long as they need to be.
Hmm.
And with Tony, the reason it was so long is because of how in depth that show goes into his character. You know what I mean?
I was
Like,
about to say, yeah, Sopranos really, gives you a
usually,
timeline of his life, pretty
and
much.
you usually don't have, 60 some odd therapy sessions that a character goes through that you gotta look through and decipher and a whole host of backstory and relationships. And yeah, so The Sopranos was a long one, but it was good. That's my favorite TV show of all time. So I enjoyed that video, making that video for sure.
Yeah, no, that's an. I mean, yeah, it's one of my favorites too. I really enjoy. One of my favorite aspects of that show is that all of the like gangsters, like they're bad guys, but they're also just like guys. Like they're just normal people, doing their thing. I mean, they're
Yeah,
bad guys. I'm not saying like that makes them like good or anything, but like some of
right,
them like to, go golfing, or some of them like to make food, or Bobby likes trains.
right.
I just always
Yeah,
think
no.
that's just funny for some reason. I just
Oh, it
find
sure
it
is.
really fascinating.
Yeah, no. Gangsters are. I love gangster shows and movies, and I got that largely from my dad. He he watched a lot of gangster movies when I was younger, and he actually learned how to speak English by watching gangster movies. So he kind of talks like a gangster in some respects. Yeah.
That's great. Uh, no, um, but
You
yeah,
got a
no.
ghost in your bathroom?
Sorry, someone opened my door. But um, but yeah, I like that about the Sopranos. Like they're all just like normal people, even though they're not good people.
Right.
Like,
No, it's a very good show. It's the best in my opinion.
oh yeah, it's good stuff. Like, what do you think of the ending? Just curious.
It was good. I mean, like I said, it's very hard for a series to wrap up, you know, in a way that will satisfy everybody, um, and not feel forced, I
Mm-hmm.
suppose. But I think that ending, the last season of The Sopranos is like 50-50 on that front. In
Mm-hmm.
some respects, it felt a little off, but in others, it was kind of the culmination of what Tony talked about in the beginning, how he felt like he got into something right when it was about to be over.
Mm-hmm.
Something along that's what he said, something along those lines. And yeah, everything's falling apart, by the end, and then it's pretty ambiguous whether or not he died. I think he probably did,
Yeah, I was about to say.
but
I think yeah, 'cause, so you probably
yeah,
don't hear it when it happens. I'm like, yeah, he's dead.
yeah, uh, oh yeah. No, another very popular video of mine. I think my most viewed video was Walter White, and everybody loves Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, he's doing Breaking Bad now.
And yeah, it's I think one of the reasons, other than the fact that it's also one of the greatest shows ever made, but one of the reasons that people love Breaking Bad so much is because it was pretty consistent from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was pretty good the whole way through. There was I don't really remember many episodes or moments where I was like, that kind of sucked.
Oh no.
It was just good, and they even ended it pretty. It's probably, I think Breaking Bad has one of the best final seasons of any show.
I agree.
Like it
Yeah.
was because it didn't let anyone down, and it ended everything great, which
Yeah,
is
I know.
hard to
I
do.
was talking. I was watching an interview with a friend of mine, and he went like, I remember some people didn't like the Breaking Bad ending. I'm like, who was that? I have not met many people who
Yeah,
didn't
I
like
haven't
that ending.
I haven't talked to one person who didn't like the ending.
I was about to say I don't think I've even talked to anybody who didn't like that ending. But
Right?
now he mentioned The Sopranos. I'm like, okay, I can see how people would not like that ending.
Oh yeah, there's still to this day controversy about that ending.
And David Simon's just like, yeah, fuck all you people. I ain't saying
Yeah,
shit.
pretty much. More power to him.
It's like I ain't saying shit. I also saw you did Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now twice.
Well, that was my first video, yeah.
Were you dissatisfied with that episode? So you're like, I'll do it again.
No, so in the video, the second video, I talk about how I'm going to I don't know when I'm going to stop doing this,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going back and remastering some of my old episodes just to bring up the quality. Because,
Mm-hmm.
my first episode, I did it in an untreated room with a Blue Yeti microphone, which is fine. Blue Yetis are fine, but doesn't sound that great. And I didn't know how to speak that well, or to edit the audio as well as I do now. And it's more like a slideshow. My
Oh
first
yeah.
video, it was just pictures, kind of going back and forth. Something that I did in high school. I really started to do the clips with Nurse Ratched when I figured out that I could actually get around the system. But yeah, just kind of updating the quality. So I don't know when I'm gonna stop, but yeah, it's just something I thought I would do. There's a little extra here and there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't remember the first one I saw. I think it was the Anton Chigurh one was the first one I saw
Yeah,
from your channel.
yeah,
I'm like, oh,
that was a good one.
that's cool.
Um, Nurse Ratched was the one that got me noticed, and it was funny because I had actually. So I've been writing a book for a long time that's still not finished, but I
Yeah, I was gonna ask you
I
about
actually
that if you're not like if you're wanting to talk about that because I remember you
yeah we
said
can
that.
yeah we can talk about that in a second. But I what 3 years ago now
Mm-hmm.
3.5 4 years ago um I decided that I hated my job and what I was doing, and I was going to go and work a low effort, not low effort, but kind of a mind numbing job. I went to go work at a factory, which is, you don't really got to think too much at a factory. And
Working at a factory
just
might be
kind
even
of,
worse. At least in my opinion,
huh?
might be worse.
Well, I was in restaurants before,
Oh,
so
okay.
you
So you
gotta,
want have people
yeah.
yelling at you?
Yeah, no. When you work at a factory, you just go in, they tell you what to do, you do that thing, and then you go home. You don't got variations. It's always the same thing, unless something breaks. But anyway, so I was working at the factory, and my plan was to, because I've had this idea for this book since like 2015, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, when I had the idea, I was like, all right, if I finish this book in 20 years, that's fine because it was just a hobby. I'd come and write a little bit here and there. It was just something fun I was doing. But then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try and do this for real and see if this turns into anything. And so I quit my job, worked at the factory, which was less effort, and started writing my book more seriously. Now, before that, probably like 4 months before I started at the factory, I actually started my YouTube channel, and
Excuse me.
my idea for the channel was like, oh, it's a shot in the dark. I just had the idea. I was like, let's give it a shot. And as the months went on, I was like, you know what, this can be if I get like 10,000 subscribers. Um, that's gonna be great because that'll be 10,000 ads for my book when I'm finished with it. That was my thought process behind the channel at that time. But writing the book and working and all that stuff got to be too much to juggle, like doing YouTube and a book and a job. So I actually stopped making videos in October of that year. But then the following summer, um, the TV show Ratched, the Netflix show Ratched,
Mm-hmm.
um,
God.
they released the trailer for it, and I got lucky. And my Nurse Ratched video became the number one recommended video on that trailer.
Ha.
So I started getting. I just checked on it one day and I was like, wait, this video had like 500 views. Why does it have 35,000 views? And then I was like, oh, that's why. And I found out, and it just kept going from there. So I was like, all right, I'll start again. Let's see if people actually like this stuff, and it's not just a one-off thing. And turns out they did. People kept coming back to watch, and then I got really, really noticed with the Hans Landa video. That got like 1 million views within like a month and a half or something, and got 100,000 subscribers from there. And ever since then, here I am. I just kept going, and now I'm here. But yes, the book is something that I've been working on for a long time. I'm actually on the third draft. It's
Mm-hmm.
just I have a lot of things going on, and it's hard to focus on the book when YouTube's paying the bills. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I have to focus most of my energy on that. So, but
Mm-hmm.
it will come out someday. And it is a fantasy novel that I plan to turn into a series. Um, so we'll see.
Yeah, I remember you said you enjoy fantasy a lot. So
Oh yeah.
what are some of your like favorite like fantasy things? It could be like
Well,
movies or books or video games or whatever.
yeah, it's funny because I used to read a lot of fantasy stuff when I was younger. And I mean, Lord of the Rings is my favorite book series
Mm-hmm.
of all time. Like, oh, shocking, how thousands of people love it, but it's amazing. I love Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit is my favorite book specifically, but
Mm.
I love the Lord of the Rings overall. I have on a shelf over here. I have like 10 special edition Lord of the Rings books because I keep seeing them and I'm like, yep, I'm gonna get that one too. It looks cool. So I have so many copies of this friggin' book. Um, but Lord of the Rings, um, I tried getting into some Brandon Sanderson stuff, and his stuff was okay. I don't know. It didn't really resonate with me. Um, I
Yeah.
love I love Final Fantasy, Dark Souls. That's one thing that happened. I think it's like my love of fantasy when I was younger um, didn't translate to me like devouring a bunch of fantasy series as I got older. It more translated into me just like playing a lot more fantasy oriented games.
Mm.
But
Mm-hmm.
when when I do have the time to read a book and I see something fantasy, I'll give it a shot, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anything is my favorite beyond Lord of the Rings, which got me into all of it.
Mm.
I know there's a bunch that I would love. I'm trying to read for a long time now. I've been trying to read Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss.
Oh
I hear
yeah,
that's
I've
a
heard
good
of that.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yeah. So here and there, I try, but I just love the aesthetic of fantasy overall. And
I've heard the
yeah,
prose in that is good. I'll have to see for
yeah, that's
myself
what
when I
I've heard.
get there.
Yeah,
I haven't I haven't read it. Same thing with Brandon Sanderson. Though I've been hesitant to try any of his stuff because I'll admit I don't love his approach to fantasy. Yeah, like
it's
his
yeah.
thoughts on
I don't know.
magic. He's like it sounds more like science, and I was like, oh man, it sounds
It's
kind of
cool.
boring.
It's I don't know. I liked some of the work. Like I was reading Way of Kings, and I liked it to a certain extent, but there was just a point where I was kept reading it, and I got to the end, and I was like, I don't really want to read the second one. I'm all right. Like this is kind
it's
of
fair.
cool, but just not for me. But people love Brandon Sanderson, so you know, teach their own.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fine. People like Brandon Sanderson. It's fine. I mean I don't have a problem with that. It's just I don't know. I would feel like a bad fantasy fan if I didn't read him at some point, but it's yeah. I'm not in any rush to do so.
Sure, yeah,
Plus, I have a bunch of other stuff I want to go read. Like yeah, so little
yeah.
time.
I so the funny thing is, since my channel is all about movies and video games and everything, I play and watch and read so many things for the channel that when I'm done, like working for the day, I just want to play video games. So I just want to play a game I want to play. I don't want to read nothing no more. I don't want to pick up a new book. I got like five I got to read for the videos. I'll do it then. I'm all right.
Yeah. Yeah, you put up a new one today, or at least today while I record this. It was Neon Genesis, I think.
Yep. Gendo Ikari.
Yeah, no, I'll admit I haven't seen that though. I mean, I saw the movie Nope, and apparently the alien in that movie is kind of inspired from that. I think possibly. I'm probably gonna get
I
ripped in the comments
don't
for saying
think
that.
so. Maybe. Wait, maybe. There is an angel that kind of looks like that alien. I'm not sure. But it was a good series. So I had seen bits and pieces of it on Adult Swim back in the day when they used to
Mm-hmm.
put it on Saturdays. But it was I never saw it from episode 1 to the finish. I just catch it sometimes and watch episodes here and there, which is not how you watch that show, by the way. It's not a series that you can just kind of pick up and put down. And so this was the first time I've watched it to completion, and it was not what I thought it was gonna be, but that's good. Like it was a good, not what I thought it was gonna be.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
I'll have to watch it at some point. I've never really, I'll admit, I've never really been interested in that kind of mecha anime stuff. Though there are
yeah,
anime I enjoy, but
I, I liked Gundam when I was younger, but I don't really. I wouldn't call Gundam my favorite.
yeah, more like a Cowboy Bebop and Monster fan, in terms of like
Cowboy
anime I
Bebop's
like.
cool. My favorites are like Full Metal Alchemist, Trigun. I love Dragon Ball. The original Dragon Ball is my favorite Dragon Ball series.
Oh wait,
Um,
have you covered Frieza?
No, not yet.
Oh.
Not yet. But I will.
I was about to say, Frieza seems like a villain you would really enjoy. Because you
Frieza's
mentioned
cool.
Palpatine.
Yeah, my game username for a long time was Turles from the third Dragon Ball movie, Dragon Ball Z movie.
Oh, yeah.
And the only reason it was is because my favorite Dragon Ball fighting game was Raging Blast 2. And his special move in that game was so awesome that I just was like, yeah, that's gonna be my name.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, yeah, no, I mean, I also like Death Note. I saw you did one on Light Yagami. I'm like, oh man, I gotta see that. And I'm so bad at keeping up with YouTube videos now. But I do
Oh,
watch.
that's
I was watching your Daniel Plainview one again the other day because I saw There Will Be Blood again. It's a great movie.
yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah, it's another one I find it's another character I find really interesting because a lot of his like emotion and like just a lot of his like motivation is it's kind of opaque, at least in my opinion. It's sort of conflicting.
Yeah, he really was about the money, and
Yeah.
it consumed him in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, that was a great movie. It was crazy how There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men came out around the same time. That was a good year for movies.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, I'm surprised it got made even because it's kind of like it's sort of an anomaly. It would be an anomaly now, and even then I mean I don't know. Maybe then it was a little different. I was only 6 when it came out, so I don't really know.
Ah, maybe I don't know. Maybe movies are making a comeback in that kind of way. I mean, Oppenheimer and Barbie have gotten a lot of um attention lately, and although they're like one's a technically a biopic, I guess, and Barbie is based off of a franchise, there's still movies outside of like Marvel and things like that. And everything everywhere all at once got rave reviews, and that was a very original idea. So I'm hoping that this next decade is going to show us some more great original movies like There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, No Country's an adaptation.
Or even, yeah, well, that's what I was going to say, or even good adaptations, because that was something that you know a lot of movies did, a lot of great movies from a long time ago, they were adaptations. Like,
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I was watching Full Metal Jacket today, and I didn't know that that was based off of a book.
Yeah.
I just
No.
found that out today,
I
and
think it's
that's
called like the
perfectly fine.
short
Books are
timers.
great. Yeah, the short timers. Yeah. So if people adapted more books, that would be awesome. You know what was weird though?
What?
I went and saw Barbie and Oppenheimer the other day,
How
and
was that? I'm gonna go see Oppenheimer. I'm like, do I really want to see Barbie? Because I see movies with my dad. I'm like, I don't really feel like dragging my dad to go see Barbie, but I can watch
Barbie
Oppenheimer.
Barbie was hilarious. Barbie was a hilarious movie, and Ken was the funniest part, in
Oh
my
my gosh,
opinion.
did you hear
That
the
was,
song that Ken sang? I'm like, yo, this shit kind of slaps.
yeah, no, it was a good song.
Is
Oppenheimer was great too. One comment, if I say this, you're probably gonna think this the whole way you're watching the movie now. But I was watching it with my friend, and he's like, "Yeah, this is great, but it feels like one long trailer." And I was like, "Oh my God, you're right." And the reason it is because throughout there is never a point in that movie where music isn't playing, and it's
oh
like
my
epic or like
god.
somber music. So just the whole way through it's all music, and I was like, oh my God, that's why. Like it just feels like the music is keeps building to something that's gonna
Oh
happen. The
no.
trailer's gonna end, and then no, it's the next trailer. But it was still a great movie. It was a great movie, so
Yeah, no,
I wouldn't.
Nolan likes to make long movies. I don't know.
Yeah. No, but I was just gonna say I don't know what's up with remakes. Like everybody, for the most part, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But I saw they're remaking The Color Purple, and I was like, why would you ever? Like,
Nah.
there's a Color Purple remake coming out, and that movie was fantastic. It was like
Yeah.
it was a great film. Um, but I don't know. I guess it needed to be remade, so that's coming out soon. which is
Yeah, I
strange.
like the color purple, like the book and the movie. Have you done an episode on that? Because there's some pretty vile
No.
people in that
Yeah,
stuff.
no, I plan on it someday, but no, I haven't done one yet.
Oh, okay. There's one you. Oh yeah, that was precious. Though I'll admit, like I remember we talked before, like on like because I'm on your Discord server. I mentioned like who's a villain you personally like detested. Like for me, like it's the mom from Precious.
Oh yeah, no, she's definitely detestable. Um,
Horrible, horrible person.
that's one of the worst I've covered here. Let me look
Great,
through my
great,
catalog real quick.
great actor though. I'm not gonna lie, that was a fantastic performance. But no, I was like, even when they're like trying to make you kind of pity her at the end, I'm like, no, I don't, no.
I don't know. Yeah, no. I mean, there is some pity to be found in her character, because like she is the way she is because she experienced some kind of abuse too. Like especially I don't know how deep they went into it in the movie, but in the book they talk about how her husband treated her and was kind of like a predator. Like I think she got with him when she was 16 and all kinds of stuff. So,
Yeah.
it evil originates somewhere usually, and it is
Mm-hmm.
sad that that happened to her and she developed the way she did, but even if you can understand why someone became how they did, that doesn't excuse what they did,
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
And
no, I don't. I don't want to feel
yeah,
bad for you
right.
after all the stuff you were doing. Ugh, no.
Um, Yi Jin from Old Boy, that was a pretty interesting one. I don't know if you've seen Old Boy.
Oh, I love Old Boy. Yeah,
Yeah, that
that might
I
be
was
one of the
like,
most disturbing films I've ever seen.
really? You did all that for that because of that?
Yeah.
Like, whoa, man, that's a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
no, he's a twisted dude.
Jack from the house that Jack built was pretty bad.
Yeah, yeah. I remember watching that. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this movie? Not a big
Yeah,
Lars von
no,
Trier fan though.
those are some pretty big ones for sure.
He's made some weird movies. Like I saw like Melancholia, Nymphomaniac, and then like the house that Jack built. And I was like, man, I don't know if he's for me. Though I like the ending of the house that Jack built when he like falls into hell, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like that,
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That was really good. But the
It
rest of it
was
was
good.
like really weird.
I thought it was a pretty good movie. It was interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. He's like, I'm an artist. I'm like, no, you're not. You're fucking crazy. And even like Bruno Gantz is like, bruh, you're fucking nuts. And he's like, whatever. He doesn't
Right.
understand.
It was a weird one for sure.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh god, yeah, yeah. Oh man, I haven't actually seen your one for the house that Jack built, but I'm sure that I'm sure that was an interesting one to make. You're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was definitely a what the hell kind of movie for sure.
Yeah.
But it was a fun video. Yeah, I think I did a pretty good job on that one too. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Um. So yeah, I'm seeing a couple ones here. Like you did one of Agent Smith and Tyler Durden. I actually rewatched Fight Club the other day.
Fight Club's cool.
It's
I'm glad
interesting.
I'm glad I got to do that video and kind of talk about why Tyler Durden is not a good person that a lot of people seem to think he is for some reason, or why
Yeah,
his
like
plan was.
I think it's pretty clear in the book and the movie that he's not like supposed to be a good guy, even if he makes like
Yeah,
good points
but
from time to time.
people latched onto him for some reason really hard, and a lot of people were very appreciative of what Tyler Durden did, and I was like, well, you shouldn't be. So
Yeah, like he's manipulating people and blowing stuff up, and yeah,
yeah, well, his whole plan was to like bring the world back to its start, kind of, and I don't know, right the wrongs of modern society and how how impersonal it's become and all this stuff, right? And it's like, yeah, I mean, that sounds kind of cool, except when you think about, how horrible it was to live without modern society. I mean, there are certain aspects of society that need to change, and they should, and we do that all the time. But to say, let's go back to not having penicillin is not cool. And I think once you got there, you figure that out real quick.
Yeah, yeah. Have you read like the comics of like the comic like sequels to Fight
I
Club?
did, yeah.
Oh
hmm
God, I only read the
I don't
second
remember
one.
them very well, but yeah, I read them.
Oh man. Is there a villain like that you've covered that you like felt bad for? Like that you're like, man, he didn't
Oh,
have to be
plenty.
evil.
Um, that that's that's kind of true for most villains.
Mm-hmm.
Most villains didn't have to be evil. Some, like Palpatine, chose it.
Yeah.
Um, but actually, most villains don't pick it. It just kind of happens to them. And I
Mm-hmm.
do I do feel bad for the ones I covered that have where their evil comes from abuse, and that
Mm-hmm.
that happens fairly often where I talk about someone who's evil because they've been abused and things like that. So yeah, I feel bad for them often.
Mm-hmm.
But no, evil is taught. It's not there are no evil babies. You know what I mean?
No.
It's it's not something that you like come out of the womb like I'm gonna be evil. You know,
Unless you're
it's something that
Palpatine.
develop. Yeah, unless you're Palpatine, but it usually develops over time, and yeah,
Or like Johan from Monster, where they're like, wait, is he a person? Is there something else going on here?
right. Yeah, that was an interesting one too. No, it's funny actually. The baby thing. When people say like, "Oh, I'd go back in time and kill baby Hitler," I'm like, "Well, why wouldn't you just go back in time and like drop him in an orphanage in America or something, or somewhere else? Just like he's just a baby, man. He didn't do anything yet."
Jeez, like that's really like disturbing. You kill a baby. He's like, but it's Hitler. Like, well, why don't you just like, I don't know,
Yeah, he's not
raise
Hitler
it,
yet. He's just a baby.
teach it good values. Don't hate Jewish people or anyone who isn't like white Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah,
How about
exactly.
that?
I think that's a much better solution.
Yeah, or like, yeah, I'm just like, what? Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, what you're so instantly to kill. Like, jeez, like I get like it's Hitler. He did some bad stuff, but like, there has to be a better solution than that.
Yeah, it seems like one of those shoot first, feel bad about it things. Later, feel bad about it later kind of things.
And then you're thinking about it. You're like, oh well, how would the world change? Because like what
Oh, well, that's a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah, you're just like,
Who
dude.
knows?
Like, if you kill baby Hitler, you'll go back to the future, and then like there's been nukes have been dropped or something. I don't know. It's just...
There's no future. It's just all a nuclear wasteland.
it's like, oh, they fought anyway, something like that. Yeah, no. I've seen you covered some Nazis on your channel, like Hans Landa.
Yeah,
And
him and Amon Gert. Of
yes,
those two. Those are the two I've
from
done. I'm
Schindler's
pretty sure.
List.
Yeah, Amon was pretty messed up.
Yeah, no. Apparently, the real guy was like that too. He would just like walk outside, just shoot him, and
Oh, it's he was that book and movie is based in reality, and I
even other
remember
Nazis are
getting
like, "What the hell?" They don't
yeah,
like him, but we
it
need him for the labor.
yeah no he was something else, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, he was the Naziest Nazi that Nazi'd, I'd say. Something
One of
like
them for
that.
sure.
I don't know. Oh my gosh. Are there some videos you look back and you're like, man, that didn't age well, or maybe just one you're like you would like to remaster at some point, or another one you'd like to remaster at some point.
So I don't think I've done a bad job on any video, and I don't think any of them have aged poorly, aside from quality wise,
Mm.
which is why I want to do the remasters. Um, I don't think I've said anything too crazy or outlandish or gotten things wrong. I mean, I get some things wrong, like here and there, but they're usually not big things, and I do miss things too. Um, but I think the only one I actually went back and corrected it recently is I did a video on Vincent from Collateral,
Oh yeah, that's a great movie too.
and at the time I wasn't, and I'm still not. I'm not an expert on guns. I just
Oh
never
yeah,
really
yeah.
got into them, and I've never even shot a gun. So, um, I don't know anything really about, or I didn't know anything really about like how to handle when someone is pointing a gun at you. And in that video, I made one of the things I said about Vincent was that when he killed those guys, um, when Jamie Foxx's character was getting like accosted while he was on a job,
Mm-hmm.
he killed those guys that were pointing a gun at him. And I said like, oh, Vincent didn't have to do that. He just that's who he is. He kills, so he did it. But a trained person like Vincent um, was more than capable of disarming them in any other way or doing X or whatever I said in the video. And I got a bunch of comments telling me how like no matter who you are or how you're trained, when someone is pointing a gun at you, you just shoot them. Like there is no other way around it. Um, and I was like, all right, I'm sorry. And I made an edit to the comment that I posted talking about it. So that's the only thing that I can remember being like, oops, shouldn't have done that.
No, but I'd still say Vincent's evil. Collateral.
Oh yeah.
Even if they weren't pointing a gun at him, I'm like, eh.
Yeah, it's
It's
never a good
murky.
thing to be a hitman. I mean, I talked about that in the Barry video. It's like when you're a hitman, you're kind of fulfilling a position that is probably going to be filled by somebody else. But just because somebody else is doing something doesn't mean you have to.
Mm-hmm.
Just because someone is going to kill the person you're going to kill probably doesn't mean you have to be the one that does it, and making the choice to like kill people for money isn't a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um and oh, I lost my train of thought. Um damn it. I had something to add there. Um oh I got comments like that on the Victor Boot video I did. I don't know if you know who that is or if you saw that video.
I don't even think I know what that is. Or who
He's
that is.
he's from that movie with Nicolas Cage, Lord of War.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was an arms dealer.
Uh-huh.
Um and I made the case that he didn't kill anybody. All he did was sell guns, but he sold guns to like dictators and terrorists and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, all he was doing was selling guns that they were going to try and get somewhere else. But even if even if one of those guns that he sold to them, if they didn't have that one gun, it would have saved one life. Like you got to think about that. They might not have gotten as many guns as he gave them, and X amount of lives might have been saved because they didn't have the firepower. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's another thing too. Just because someone else is going to do it, or they're going to find whatever guns they can somewhere else, doesn't mean that you should be the one to do it. Same thing applies to a hitman. Someone else is probably going to do your job, and you're more often than not probably killing criminals who, they're going to, they had it coming anyway. But you also could have saved a number of lives by not entering into that profession.
In the
Um,
first place.
I,
Yeah, I get what
I,
you mean.
I someone, a lot of people on that Victor Boot video made a comment about like, well, McDonald's sells burgers to to people and they kill people, right? You get heart disease and you die. Is it McDonald's fault? I'm like, Well, you choose to go to McDonald's. You don't choose to get shot in the head by a dictator. That's not a choice you get to make. that's that's not an equal.
It's such a different thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That was interesting stuff.
I like that. It's just some guys like, oh, McDonald's. Yes, just oh man.
Yeah, but yeah,
Need a Lord of fast food movie and some guy
there we
just
go.
outselling everybody.
It's already been made. It's called Super Size Me.
Oh god, yeah. I remember watching that in middle school.
Yep.
Oh man, no, it's. But yeah, no. Like, are there other like I don't want to. Are there other like real life, I guess, villains, if you want to call them that you would like to cover? Like, I don't know, Hitler or Stalin or
There
something like that.
are, but and I I don't want to talk too much about this because I don't want anybody to get their hopes up for
Okay,
them
okay.
happening anytime soon. But I am currently working on other channels, and I'm
Oh,
going to because there's a lot of things that I could do on this channel, but I kind of want to branch out, and there's a number of reasons why I want to do other channels. But
mm,
these other channels are going to be talking about real world figures, so
mm, mm,
people will get their fix there.
mm. All right. All right, like like I remember I watched Downfall with Bruno Gantz as Hitler. If you've ever seen the Hitler memes where he's
Oh
freaking
yeah, no,
out
I
and they
actually
replace the
I've seen that
dialogue.
movie. I've seen that movie several times. It was actually free on YouTube. It's free on YouTube right now, and I watched it a little while back while I was working on stuff. Just had it on in the background. It's a good movie.
Yeah, I was about to say, memes aside, it's a really good movie.
It is. It is a good movie.
But yeah, I guess I was curious because I remember you mentioned a while back that like you're not against covering like real life like evil people at some point.
Yeah, no, and I probably will still cover some on this channel. Um, but yeah, I got other things in the works, so we'll see how those things go.
Fair enough. Um, yeah, no, it's a good stuff. Um, what are some other episodes you've enjoyed doing? Like that you were like, wow, that was
So
good.
for the most part, I've enjoyed every episode I've made. There's, especially because a lot of this stuff is new to me.
Mm-hmm.
Is when I first started out, it was more stuff that like I'd seen and I wanted to cover. But as time goes on, I've, taken suggestions from people and seen a lot of new stuff, and it's been pretty interesting for the most part. Every video offers something new. Um, Particular fun though, the Am one was fun. Uh, let's see here. Judge Holden was fun to do. Lil Zay was fun. Um,
Yeah, City of God's a great film. I really,
yeah,
it's one of my favorite foreign movies, at least.
1 Hour Photo was cool. Morgoth, of course, because Tolkien. Ingsoc was fun. 1984.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tywin was that was probably one of my favorite ones to work on was Tywin.
Oh yeah. I watched that one because Tywin's interesting because like he's an interesting character, but at the same time, I generally detest him as he's one of those I really detest as like a person.
Oh yeah, definitely detestable, but thoroughly interesting.
Yeah, he's like like ruthless murderer, but like there's something engaging about him for whatever reason. Because I'm kind of the same way you are. I think that villains are interesting because it's interesting to see people push to the limit. I guess in terms of you know morality or whatever. I don't know how to describe it. And more like I don't know how to articulate it better, but that's kind of
Yeah, seeing the limits of what humans are capable of, as far as evil goes, is very interesting to watch and to study.
yeah. No, it's like something I remember reading something Joseph Conrad said. Men are capable of every type of wickedness.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. If you can think of something within our means. Not that's fantastical, but it's likely that someone's done it or someone will do it in the future. Well, that depends, though. I mean, I am actually a optimist when it comes to the future for the most part. Um,
Oh, it's interesting.
I yeah, no, I so how I think about the future is if we don't destroy ourselves now, the future is going to be like an unparalleled place of happiness for most people. Just as like a 10th century peasant in England
Mm-hmm.
couldn't possibly imagine the like luxury and comfort and all the things we have now, we can't possibly imagine what it would be like in 500 years, And I
Mm-hmm.
think with how the world is just over time, the world is going to come more and more together. There is no other way around it. We've already started that process. And in 500 years, I think if we make it there, the future will be bright for those people.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
500 years, 1,000 years, who knows how many years. But and at some point in the future, I think if things shake out well enough in our time and the years that come after us, that it'll be a good place for most people. And evil won't totally go away, but it will be lessened, I think.
Yeah. No. I. Yeah. No. It's interesting because I'm working on like a science fiction thing, and kind of my like thesis that I had is that like the world hasn't really changed, even though it has. Because despite all of our technology, we're still doing the same stuff that we were doing like dozens of like
Oh
years
yeah,
ago.
I saw a quote from someone. I don't remember what it was exactly, but it's like we're primitive beings emotionally with I don't know something else in like godlike technology, and it's we're at a very strange crossroads right now.
Yeah.
We're we're still at the point where I mean, for God's sake, my great grandmother who died in just a year before I was born in '92, she till the day she died, she was still chopping her own firewood and she didn't have running water in her house.
Oh my god.
And she was bathing in like a tin bathtub. So, but then I'm sitting here in a air conditioned room talking to you over a wire and I can see your face. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
we're at a crossroads from we're at a very strange crossroads right now.
Yeah. No.
And
We're
I
we're in
I
the
agree with you,
future now. Like it's
things
weird. It doesn't feel
yeah,
like it.
no.
Like wait, where's all the
Things haven't
flying cars? What the hell? But
all
that's
right.
beside the point.
Things haven't changed too drastically, like you were saying. But I think
We're not in Star
what
Trek.
will change
My
us
point. But at the
Star
same
Trek?
time, we're
Okay.
not in 1984 either. So, you know,
Right.
because I don't want to be
Um
completely pessimistic.
no, I think so. If you think about it, like the majority of the world's problems comes from our inability to get along with each other.
Yeah,
You know,
I
I
agree.
mean, and like I said, as time goes on, we're only gonna as long as horrible things don't happen, like a nuclear war or something.
Oh
We're
God,
just gonna come more.
don't
We're
jinx
just
us.
gonna come more together. You know what I mean? We've already come a lot closer globally. The global communication is insane.
Mm,
And you go to other countries and stuff. There are still people who have bad viewpoints, and I'm not going to go too into it. But you can. I could go to Korea right now, and no one is going to cut my head off because I'm an infidel or a foreigner or something. Get this
I don't
white
mean to
devil out
laugh,
of my
but
land.
that's
You can go places and talk to people and appreciate each other. And I think as time goes on, that's just going to become more and more true for everybody. The biases of the past, there's still many biases from the past around today. But as time goes on, just like anything else, those are going to go away for the most part, I think. So I'm pretty hopeful that as we come together, things will get better for people.
No, I guess my kind of view is that yeah, we'll always kind of find reasons to like get mad at each other and not get along, but at the same time, we'll always find reasons to be nice to each other too. So I mean,
Yeah.
because I find a lot of problems today, and I won't get too into this, but a lot of it is that like there's not really a lot of balance. Everyone's just like it's this way or that way, and I'm like, not really, kind of, not really though. Doesn't have to be
Yeah.
that way.
I don't know. I mean, I I love how like our individuality, right? For example.
Yeah.
Um, but one thing that I like to point to is in fiction, when you see an alien race, like an advanced alien civilization, and they say where they're from, do they say I'm an Earthling from China, or would they say I'm an Earthling? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And once we get to that point where it's not I'm an American or I'm a German or whatever, I'm a human and you're a human, and that's what we are. I think that's where the world's moving towards. You know,
Mm-hmm.
not now. It's not going to happen in our lifetime. It might not happen in the next generation or the generation after that. It might be 1,000 years before that happens. But I think that's the logical next step for the evolution of society. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I think about it.
Yeah,
So
no,
in
it's
that way, the reason I'm even talking about this is because if things do turn out that way, I think evil will be lessened. You know, as our differences become less and less, evil will be less and less because I don't know, a lot of evil comes from our differences, you know. A lot of evil in the world comes from our differences between each other.
yeah. There's also I was curious about this idea because it's I don't see a lot of science fiction that explores like the world is like a like kind of like ours right now. It's usually like it's like a Star Trek type utopia, though there is still conflict in Star Trek, or it's like 1984.
Right. And I don't think the future is going to be a utopia. I just think a lot of the problems we have now are going to go away. That's all. You know.
No, yeah, no, I get that. I mean, in like Star Trek, I mean, there's still people fighting each other. I mean, that's kind of my thing. Like, it's always gonna happen. I think.
Right.
Anyway,
Oh yeah.
now, I wouldn't call myself a pessimist. It's just kind of, look, we've been around for a millennia, and we still have finding reasons to shoot each other.
Oh
Or,
sure. Sure.
but at the same time, there are also there are also going to be people who will try to be kind to each other. So I think that matters too. It's not just doom and gloom either. 'Cause-
Right. I mean, a good kind of another comparison I can make between like the peasant too, because I think it's easy to fall into pessimism because of what is immediately presented to us. You know, we got wars going on and we got a whole bunch of bad stuff happening in the world, and
Also,
like I
there's
said, that's
Twitter, and
never
you see like the dregs of humanity on there.
right.
You're just like, dude,
That's never
come on.
that's never gonna go away. But it just like the peasant back in the day, right? So let's say 10th century English peasant has and he comes to my house, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
this is just an example. I don't actually have any Muslims next door, but let's say that this 10th century comes to my house and they learn that my next door neighbor is a Muslim and he's like, "Well, that's a Muslim from Arabia. Aren't you going to, like get him off of our land? That this isn't where they're supposed to live." It's like, "No, we don't do that now. We don't do that to people. That's fine. They can live right next door to us. That's how it is. And that would blow their mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is something that they would never think would happen. And just like us, we'd never think that people would stop shooting each other on a massive scale like wars. But
yeah.
I think eventually it will get lessened. It
Yeah,
won't
no,
go
exactly.
away.
It's like, do I think world peace is gonna happen? Probably not. But are we gonna like not be as bad? Probably.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how I think about the future.
I
It's
mean,
going to get better and better. It only gets better. It gets worse in some respects, but it also gets better.
I mean, we're Jim or like Jim Crow in America. That's over now. So clearly, like we are capable of being better,
Oh yeah.
even if there is a ways to go, of course, because there's
Oh
still
yeah.
problems like that in
Well,
America. But
yeah.
again, I don't want to get too much into that. But
Every societal problem is just like anything else. It's an invention. We invented these problems, and just like whale oil went away in favor of the light bulb to
mm-hmm,
light our houses.
mm-hmm,
Those negative things that we have created will also be replaced by something else in time.
mm-hmm.
And more often than not, it's not something more negative. Jim Crow didn't get replaced with harsher Jim Crow.
Yeah,
So,
no. Thank
yeah.
God. Uh, that would have been just, oh man. Like
Right.
there is the bad stuff, like, and it's more like apparent for whatever reason. I guess people just like spicier news or something, but like there's still good. Like we're still doing okay with what we're
Oh,
at
yeah.
right now.
hmm Much better off than where we were a while ago. That's for sure.
I mean, it's crazy how far we've come. Like we're already kind of flirting with. I don't want to call it AI because it's not really AI. It's more like a machine that does a function. It's not really like.
Yeah, but it's still insane like that. And see, now I know I, I I don't really focus too much on politics, but the only thing that I really have been a proponent of for like 10 years now is AI is coming and we got to figure out what we're going to do when it gets here. And it seems like this chat GPT stuff and all that's going on now has kind of lit a fire under a lot of people. And I'm hoping that there will be a lot of solutions coming soon. Because I
Yeah,
remember
but
seeing
my thing is like, is it really AI? Because it's like it was programmed by somebody. So I
right,
mean,
but
I don't know. That's probably some philosophical discussion for a philosophy channel. But that's just something
sure.
I'm curious. That's just something I'm curious about,
No,
personally.
it's definitely it's a baby step,
Well, yeah,
but
yeah, yeah, it
baby
is.
steps are still scary. I mean, the statistic that really got me focused on this aspect of just how like AI is going to impact society is I remember seeing a while ago that like by 2035 that 50% of the jobs that existed at the time that article was written were going to be automated.
Oh
And it's
my
like, well, what
god.
are you going to do? What are you going to do? Like this is not a problem that we need to talk about when it happens. It's a problem we need to talk about now. And I don't know what the solution is. I just want people to talk about it.
Yeah,
And
no,
that's
it's funny thing about human beings I've learned is that we I don't know. Sometimes we're just lazy. We're
oh
just
yeah.
like we'll figure it out when we get there. And
Yeah,
it's
pretty
like
much.
that's not always. I'm like, guys, that's not always how you. It's not how
Well,
that's not gonna work when it happens. You're like, oh shit, we should have done this earlier.
yeah. No, it's hard because humans are inherently more concerned with what's going on now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
hungry. I'm tired. Those are immediate problems that you need to solve. And our brains are only capable of so much. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even when you like big numbers, when you talk about like I don't know, how many stars there are in the
Mm-hmm.
universe, right? There's trillions of stars and or billions, trillions. I don't remember. There's one of those illions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number of stars in the universe. I can't even picture accurately 100 people individually in my head, right? If I asked you to picture 100 people in your head right now, you can't. You're not gonna make every single one of their faces, right? You might think
Oh
of
yeah.
like a big room with a bunch of bodies that might be exactly 100 people. But when I tell you imagine, so if I tell you imagine billions of stars in the universe, you're like, what? No way. There's that many dots
or
right there. What are you
or
talking
how
about?
many grains
That's
of sand there are on the beach. You're like,
right.
dude, no, I
hmm
can't.
So no, that's just it's one of the problems we have to overcome as human beings is being more conscious of what's going to happen next instead of what's going on now, and that's going to be something we struggle with
I guess that's
forever,
what science
probably.
fiction's for. We can just kind of go like, oh, here's some problems that can come up. Hope you guys don't do this.
Right?
Because
Yeah.
I view a lot of science fiction as cautionary at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot of it's what if, you know.
It's either that or look at this great society we made, or look at how disgusting and decadent we've become.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it's the world's a hard place to navigate, and it's a hard place to figure out what to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, it always bothers me when people are like, oh no, we're gonna be in 1984. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, North Korea, that's 1984. We're doing fine over here. So,
So
stop
I
it.
think what a lot of people don't
Stop it
I think
right now.
there have been places on Earth, you know, like North Korea, where things have been like 1984, and there still is, you know, like North Korea. And I actually talked about this in the video. There are dictators in many countries still that you know repress certain freedoms. But
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing that's very crucial about 1984 that most people forget about is that 19 the world of 1984 takes place after a gigantic war happened where nuclear bombs went off and
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
society has been reorganized into this horrid state. And it
Mm.
was that event that changed things. So 1984 might happen if something like that happened, but just like now, out of nowhere, not gonna happen.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
Yeah,
no. Yeah. No, I don't. I mean, I personally don't think so, but I wouldn't like to find out. That's for sure. Because 1984 is horrifying.
oh
I
yeah,
mean, to be honest, like I don't know if you've ever read Brave New World, but I find that's more like
I love that book. That's one of my favorite books.
I find that's more kind of like I don't want to say it's more disturbing because it's not really an evil boogeyman that dooms us. It's our own. It's us, pretty
It's
much.
kind of
Like
a
our own love for distractions and just being and
yeah,
hedonism will
yeah,
doom us. I find that's
it's
a much
like
more insidious thing.
I don't know if it's more insidious, but it's more probable, and
Exactly.
I would
Yeah.
believe that that would happen in a society as how it is now versus 1984. Um, because what Brave New World is essentially consumerism and an entertainment focused society gone bad,
Yeah.
like real bad, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and that's possible. You know, I think obviously I know it's gonna be weird coming out of my mouth considering I built my channel off of entertainment, but probably one of the greatest mistakes that the world has made in the last 100 years was focusing more of its time and effort on entertainment than other things.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that set us back quite a lot. And I mean, it's just how it is. You know, we're humans, and humans like to be entertained.
Well,
I
yeah,
like to be
of course.
entertained, obviously, you know, but
Of course, of
uh,
course.
I can still say, you know, probably not the greatest thing for the world.
I don't know. I guess I felt it was more probable than like 1984. Like I would imagine 1984 would take a lot of extreme circumstances for something like that to happen.
Right.
Like Brave New
Yes.
World, that like
Definitely more
it's not
probable.
just probable; it's inevitable that could happen.
I don't know if it's inevitable, but it's definitely more likely.
Yeah.
More and
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. We'll have to see how things go.
Do
But
analyzing evil for Brave New World, or would you even say that is evil? I don't.
people have asked me to do it, and I'll probably do it, cover it someday.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because it's not really like it's some sort of like Big Brother Insidious thing. It's just like people like, oh, we're making life better, kind of, or they think so.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a great book. It's it's one I think everyone should at least read once,
Oh yeah. Oh
or a
yeah.
lot of
It's a
people
must
should.
read.
But, I know not everyone's into reading, but oh well.
I
Brave
don't
New
even know if they
World.
have a movie. Do they have a Brave New World movie?
I think they have a show, if I remember right.
Oh, they do. They do have a
Yeah.
show. Huh. Well, they can watch the show then, I guess.
Nah, yeah, no. But one of my, but yeah, no, I really enjoy. I don't know if I want to say I enjoyed Brave New World, because I don't. I think that would be the wrong thing to say. But I think it's a. I do think like it's more probable than 1984. Personally speaking, there's some people who would probably disagree, and that's fine. But this is kind of
Yeah.
how I
No, it's
look at it.
definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, 1984 is a great novel. I think it's a very important book for a lot of reasons, and I think it's a good like cautionary tale about totalitarianism, of course.
Yeah.
Um, Now, I mean, one could argue it had there's some aspects that probably haven't aged well, but I don't know what that would be, but I'm sure there's someone out there who'll find something they don't like about it. But I think it's a book that should be discussed,
Oh,
even
for
if I
sure.
don't
Yeah.
entirely agree with its thesis.
Right.
That like, oh, there's gonna be this big evil government that's gonna take over, and it's like, kind of,
Depend.
but no, it's not as much about like the big evil overlords. It's more about us. You know, more about us allowing this to happen rather than just oh, rather than just oh, they just take over and that's it.
Right. Right.
It's kind of, I don't know what you think about that, but that's just kind of that's kind of my little issue with 1984. I mean, not saying it couldn't happen, but it's like I don't know. It's hard
No,
to
like I
say.
said, it's. I think the fact that it happens after a war is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Because I talked about this. I kind of talked about this in the Last of Us video. Because I talked about Fedra and how a totalitarian police state in your city isn't a good thing. But after something apocalyptic, it's probably an inevitability that something like that is going to pop up to restore order. Because there is a point after mass destruction happens or the societal collapse where
Mm-hmm.
someone's got to reorganize things. Um, and that's governments like that are inevitability. 1984 is when that inevitability doesn't go away and it just keeps building and building and it gets worse and worse. So
I mean,
it's
there's some. I mean, it's again. I should bang. I should just say it is a great book. I'm not discounting it. It's just I it, again, there's just some issues I have with the thesis of the book. If that
yeah, no, I understand.
it's not and I'm not saying it isn't plausible. I'm just it's just kind of like I don't know if it would work like that if it were real.
Right. Yeah.
But
We wouldn't know until we found out, honestly. But yeah, I think extreme circumstances would be the only way it would possibly develop.
yeah, and then there's a lot of moral conundrums. It's like, oh, should you let go of that power, or because power corrupts people.
Right.
And also, there's that monologue at the end of the book where, like, oh, I think it's O'Brien. He's all like, we want a boot on somebody's neck. I'm like, oh, okay, you're really laying it thick there. I mean, it's messed
Yeah.
up. It's disturbing, but there is that kind of part of me. It's like, okay, you're really laying on the message pretty thick, huh? Or I
Oh
think
yeah.
so.
No. I mean, it's another one of those cautionary tales.
Well,
You know.
yeah. No.
This could maybe happen, so watch out.
Yeah, no, you're like, yeah. Like, I don't want 1984 to happen. I'm just saying. I don't
Yeah.
think anyone in their right mind would want that.
And he wrote that because of the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
How how horrible it was back then. And it wasn't exactly like 1984, but there's a lot of things that the USSR did that were like it. And like you mentioned earlier, North Korea is one of a holdout of that system.
Well,
And
North Korea is
not fun.
kind of an easy example. I mean, I'm sure there's other like Nazi Germany
It's
or
an
something.
easy example. Well, the reason I'm using it as an example is because it still exists. You know
Well,
what I
yeah, of
me're
course, yeah, that too. That's why I use
Like
it anyway.
it's the one. There are a couple other ones that are bad. There are a few other ones that are still bad, but North Korea is the worst that exists currently. You know, the
Yeah,
worst totalitarian society that exists currently.
yeah, no, or even if you it's sort of downplayed, but China,
Yeah, but
Russia.
even China is not as bad as North Korea.
No, no, no,
Like
no, no, no.
if
That's why I said it's kind of downplayed because like it is a totalitarian system, but it's kind of not. It's kind of in that weird spot.
Yeah, there's plenty. There's China. There's Cuba. Cuba is still pretty messed up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of the Central Asian countries still have problems in that regard. My a lot of Middle Eastern countries do too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my dad is from Syria, and that place is not okay and hasn't been okay for a while now. Um,
Yeah, though
yeah.
I've heard their infrastructure's getting better. No, that's probably not much comfort though.
Well, the war has slowed down a lot, so yeah, it's gotten better, but after 12 years of constant warfare, things
Oh
are
wait, no,
pretty
that was
messed up.
Saudi Arabia. My bad, not Syria. I don't know anything about Syria. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, they've been in a civil war for like 12 years now, and
Oh my god.
pretty bad. Yeah.
Again, what am I telling you? People are always going to find reasons to shoot at each other. But again, at the same time, there's always going to be reasons I think that people will try to help each other at the same
Uh,
time. So it's
I
not.
could talk for hours. So obviously, with my dad being from there, I have a special connection to the Middle East. So I could talk for hours about why they want to shoot each other over there, and there's a lot of reasons why, and it's very messed up.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I really want to get into the complex socio-political situation in Syria.
Oh
Like
yeah, no.
that's
Like I said, we're not going to talk about that today. That's for sure.
yeah, no. But my point is that like like a lot of people are really pessimistic nowadays. I'm like, guys, we're doing better than we thought. Okay, we haven't blown each other up with the nukes. Okay, like
Yeah.
Oppenheimer.
No, what you said is true, but people are still shooting each other, and people are going to continue to shoot each other. But I guess that's the main point of what I was talking about earlier: is the reasons to shoot each other are going to get less and less. You know,
Yeah.
there's going to be less reasons to shoot each other as time goes on.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, no, it's kind of quoting Blood Meridian again. Wars become more dishonored, I guess, as time's gone along.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Though we're still though we're still kind of fascinated by it. It's a weird thing. Like again, I don't think like war or anything like that's going away anytime soon. But
Yeah.
again, at the same time, there's always going to be good people too.
Oh yeah.
That's like I wish more people realize that, and they don't. And it's really frustrating to me. On like
Oh yeah. I agree.
not really. It's like it's not necessarily that like it's not necessarily that I think everything is like sunshine and rainbows or anything like that because it's not. But it's almost like reinforced. You're just like good. There's still good people here, too.
Oh yeah, no. And the thing, everyone has the potential for evil, but there's a lot of small scale evil that goes on every day.
Mm-hmm.
But really atrocious, extraordinary evil is the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
Most people are nice people. It's there's a lot of bad people and there's a lot of, rude and confrontational people that you might meet, and but on the whole, most people aren't diabolical murderers or looking at are out to get you.
Yeah.
Um
Diabolical murder. I like that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's my thing. I'm like, I think most people at the end of the day like just are decent and just want to like go on with their lives. I don't think I don't think people necessarily want to be evil. Like I don't know if even evil people want to be evil.
No, most don't. I mean, most never wanted to. I mean, they might now, but to begin with, no. Most, no.
Or there's even some who might think they're doing the right thing. You know, it's not.
Oh,
It's
that happens all the time.
yeah. I mean, going back to the Nazis. I mean, crazy as it is, you know, like Hitler probably thought, like in his own twisted way, he was doing the right thing, and he wasn't, obviously.
Oh, yeah, and there's that saying, every villain is the hero of their own story.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, just yeah. I mean, I don't think. Well, Joseph Stalin. That's a whole other thing. I have a weird, I have a weird fascination with Soviet history, like especially with like the Stalin stuff.
Oh, yeah, I know a lot about it too. I was pretty into it for a while, and I I am a proponent that Stalin is in the running for most evil person who ever lived.
Yeah, no, I'd
So,
agree. He's in my top five at least. I've come across.
yeah, my biggest reason for claiming that, I've actually had to talk about this a lot lately, but
Talked about Stalin a lot recently.
yeah, I've been asked about who do I think the most evil person is a
Oh
lot,
wow.
but
Well,
it's
look at
because
that.
of it's because he did everything that every other horrible, and I mean, come on now, if we're being real here, the most evil people in the world were dictators, right?
Mm,
They were the worst out of everyone. There's a lot of serial killers and everything like that, but as far as how many people they affected and what they did to them, that you can't really match the horrid things that dictators did.
mm-hmm.
Or maybe conquerors can, like you could argue about Genghis Khan, I guess, or any other conqueror in history.
Yeah, I mean
But
you could.
the reason I point to Stalin is he did everything else that every other dictator does. He imprisoned people. He had a lot of people killed. Horrible policies that got people killed. Propaganda, everything, right?
Mm.
But he was the only one who, as far as I know, who would sit in his office for hours a day and write names of people individually to be killed, rather than just saying, "Oh, go kill all these people." He sat down for hours at a time, wrote their names down, and
I,
even wrote little jokes.
I thought
Even
you.
wrote little jokes next to their names, saying, "Hey, this guy, whatever, little joke here, kill this guy." And then he'd go into Beria, another great guy, his NKVD chief, and he'd
Yeah,
say,
no.
"Here's the list of people to kill today. Oh, by the way, tell me if this guy falls funny. Tell me
I thought you were gonna
that
mention he let his son die. I was like, yeah, I was about to say like, I don't
that's
know if you believe in the concept of souls, but like, I think you could make an argument that Stalin literally had no soul whatsoever.
yeah. No, he was that's what makes him the worst in my view. Is because like yeah, there's other dictators that
So
killed more people like
what
and
pushes
or
him
killed
over
an
the line for
equivalent
you is
amount.
that he like literally took the time and wrote names like here's some people you should go kill.
Right. I mean, Hitler is horrible, right? Just as
Mm-hmm.
there's. I'm not saying that other dictators aren't horrible, because Hitler is horrible, Mao's horrible, Pol Pot was horrible, but they said, "Hey, these people need to die. Go and do it. I'm gonna go and relax." Stalin was like, "Hey, these people need to die, and I'm gonna go sit down and write names of the ones that I think need to especially die."
I don't mean to laugh. This is terrible, but it's like there's, you know, I noticed like when dark things there's almost like a dark absurdity to it. Like seriously,
Yeah.
like
No,
Stalin
it's
was so petty. Like he wrote the
he
people he
was
didn't like to
petty,
die.
paranoid, and sadistic. He was
Oh
very
my
paranoid
god.
too. So that's another reason why he was so specific about the people he killed, because he wanted to make sure he wrote down the people that he thought were a threat to him. But other ones, it was just it was just too much. He was just a lot. So that's why for me, it's the personal aspect. I've as time has gone on, I've been more conscious of the personal aspect of someone's evil. Like the more personal someone is with the evil they commit, the worse they are, in my opinion. Like if if I said if you said go kill 1,000 people to someone, but then I went out and killed 1,000 people by myself and tortured them all before I did it, that's worse than the guy who said go kill 1,000 people,
Oh
as far
yeah,
as I'm
sure.
concerned. Yeah.
That brings a whole other bunch of moral conundrums I don't know if we want to talk about today, but
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. No.
I get what you mean.
Tangents. Sorry, I go off on a lot of
No,
tangents.
no, no, it's okay. No, it's okay. But but yeah, no. Have you seen Death of Stalin, the movie?
I have. It's a great movie.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I had some like there was some stuff that didn't make me laugh, but there was some good stuff in there. But yeah, apparently mostly like that's not too far off from how it happened. Aside from like some timeline, some kind of timeline discrepancies, but it's Hollywood.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Um,
But it was a good movie.
yeah, I'm just like, wow, this Barry guy, he's a fucking asshole.
Yep. Yes, he was.
Oh god, yeah, no, Steve Buscemi as Khrushchev was just hilarious. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is.
Oh yeah, great choice.
Oh my god. I mean, again, there's like a dark absurdity, and apparently that's how it did happen. Like he collapsed, and like some guards heard him, and they were like too terrified to go in there.
Oh that's how it happened. I mean, the movie's called a black comedy for a reason. You
Oh
know,
my god. You might
it's
think,
dark, but it's
wow,
supposed to be
really? That's how
funny,
it
and it
happened?
was.
Yes. Yes, it did.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen some that were like, he wasn't killing as many people. I'm like, I don't know if that, like, I don't know if that, I don't know if that's like a, whatever. I don't know if
Yeah.
you can get too extreme with the killing, unless it's like Blood Meridian or something like that, but,
Right. Right. Yeah. And apparently they're making a movie, so we'll see.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's one I'm like, how are they going to do that? Because it's just, oh. Like, there's so
I
much
mean,
depravity in that book.
yeah. I mean, in my opinion, they shouldn't pull any punches. They should just go for it. Come and See, which is another horrible movie. That was
I've heard of
that
this
didn't
film.
pull any. Yeah, it didn't pull any punches either, and it was great. You don't have to, try and get that R rating. Make it X. Make it double X rating. I don't care.
I mean,
Just
I haven't
just
seen
do it
Come and
right.
See, but I've heard it's a very dark movie.
It's one of the most accurate and horrifying war movies ever made
Yeah, I mean,
because it.
that's always something I've thought about because the Soviets and like the Eastern Theater of World War II is described as like one of the most brutal theaters of the war, aside
Oh
from
yeah.
like the Pacific Theater.
Yep.
And it's
And
like just imagine you're a Russian citizen and you get invaded by these just Nazi people, and they're doing a bunch of horrible stuff, and then you go back home and then it's just like you go back to this just more horribleness.
oh yeah. No, I
No
definitely
wonder
recommend
the
you watch it.
Russians are so depressed. My God.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Definitely watch that movie if you haven't seen it.
I want to. I just haven't gotten around to it. I think it is. I think it's up on YouTube actually.
I think it is.
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard it's really dark. So,
Oh
and
yeah.
like they shot actual bullets at the guy. So I'm like, oh wow, that's crazy.
Oh yeah. No, it was. It did its job. It did its job.
Yeah,
But
no, I've heard it's probably the most unflinching war movie ever made. I'm like, oh,
oh yeah.
well,
Oh yeah. Definitely. I don't mean to cut you off, but we've been going on for a while now.
oh, well, I mean, I was about to say, well, yeah, no, yeah, no, if you like need to go, we can
I do.
wrap up.
Sorry, I have engagements today.
Oh yeah, no, that's cool. Well, I'm glad you can make it here today. And talk with me.
Of course, yeah,
I'm glad
it was
it
fun.
took a while, but we got there.
Yeah, no, it was fun. It was a good conversation.
Um, thing I like to do. Would you like to share like social media before we leave?
Oh no, I mean, I'm the vile eye on everything. So if you want to follow me, go ahead. I haven't really been plugging my social media as much as I probably should, but if you want to follow me, go ahead.
Or go to his Discord server.
Yeah, I
Cool, cool,
don't
cool.
really post. I'm horrible at social media other than YouTube, obviously. So I rarely post anything. But you're more than welcome to follow me if you want to.
All right. Well, again, thank you for coming on. You can follow me on Twitter. It's probably the only like. Also, use Goodreads and Letterboxd for reviews. So, yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So again, thank you, Mr. Vile Eye. One last question I must
Sure.
I'll ask before you leave. Like, how does it feel to be an eldritch abomination? Because your your eye is very beautiful. I must say.
Um, it feels amazing. You know, it's unlike anything else in the universe. It's probably the top thing to be in the universe. I will say that this skin sack does get itchy though, and I it's just I'm getting tired of it. I long for the days that I can be free and unleash my horror upon the world.
Oh man, of course. I guess that's also one thing. Like, how did you come up with that? How did you come up with the thumbnail?
Thumbnail, I like beholders and from Dungeons and Dragons and
Oh yeah,
just basically eye tentacle monsters. I don't know if you ever played the game League of Legends, but there's a character in there too
I've
that
seen
I
Arcane. I haven't seen or I haven't played League of Legends though.
yeah, there's a character named Vel'Koz and he's a eye squid just like me. And I don't know, I just thought it would be pretty cool. Um, the channel artwork, you can see the channel artwork. It's like an eye coming out of the ground
Mm,
with the tentacles coming out of like a portal kind of thing. So the
mm.
horror beyond, you know. And the name, kind of a play on the evil eye, with also the monsters in mind. But also, I thought when I started the channel that I was looking at these characters with a vile eye. So there you go.
All right. Well, again, thank you for coming on and talking with me for a bit. And have a good rest of your day. And hope everyone enjoyed this. So see you guys later. Goodbye.
You too, man. My pleasure. Have a good one.
All right.
Bye bye.